Hello and welcome back to the Lenko Show. This is episode number 15, and today I am joined by Tom Blay, who is head coach at CrossFit 3D in Manchester. He's a level 3 CrossFit coach, which is very, very high ranking. So this guy knows his stuff. When it comes to training, when it comes to movement education, he's on point. So we're going to dig into what he knows about movement, what you can apply to your own training, what you can apply to your own life. As well as that, he's also an online coach, a podcaster as well. So make sure you check out his podcast. And he is a competitor. So we're going to find out a lot more about what brought him into coaching, what he values in terms of principles of movement, and how we can actually begin to make a massive positive change in the fitness industry when it comes to a very poignant topic at the moment, which is people's health, lifestyle, longevity, not just being around and alive for a long period of time, but being able to live to a very, very high standard and high quality through that period of time. So sit back, enjoy the show, and hopefully I will try my best to get some very awesome nuggets and pearls of wisdom from the man himself. Please welcome to the show, Tom Blay. Right then, Tom, welcome to the show. It's good to have you on, my man.
Thanks for having me, mate. It's my pleasure.
I believe in the introduction I referred to you as you are a CrossFit level 3 coach. I have got that right, haven't I?
Yeah, that's right, mate. Yeah.
So just what does that mean? Because I'm assuming that is obviously quite high level. And
less than 1% of all CrossFit coaches in the world are level 3 coaches. And what that means is that you've got your CrossFit level 1 and level 2. And it also means that you've done a certain number of hours. I think it's 750 hours of coaching, and you have taken the CCFT exam, which is a 4-hour exam, all about CrossFit, and it displays that you are a CrossFit level coach. So not any one of those things. You need all of it, basically. You need the level 2 and the exam and the time and you need what else you need? Oh yeah, you need a CPR certificate as well.
So it's a pretty big deal, isn't it? So when it comes to movement, everyone just needs to shut up and listen to you now, don't they?
I wouldn't say that. I'm definitely still got a lot to learn, but mate, that exam is pretty nails, and you definitely have to put some serious work into passing it. But if you know your stuff, if you know the journal inside and out, the level 1 journal, if you've done lots and lots of coaching, you're very good at seeing and correcting, and you know CrossFit's methodology. If you know it, if you live it, you will definitely pass.
So, I mean, that's what's required, isn't it? If you want to be in the 1%, that's what you've got to do. You've got to put the work in.
Yeah. I mean, I got my level 1 in December of 2013. And then I took my level 2 not that long after, really. I only took it like a year later, 11 months later. And then from there, I just sort of picked up bits as I went along. I did a couple of energy system courses, nutrition course. And then I really started buckling down and spent 6 months, maybe 6 to 8 hours a week revising. I'm just really and I really enjoyed it, and I think it's like Lord of the Rings, isn't it? Like the journey and putting all the time into learning was way more beneficial than just doing the exam. Like that's what I think made me a level 3 coach, was getting all that extra knowledge, filling all the holes that I had. And even if I would have failed the exam, I'd have still been a much better coach for it anyway.
See, I just very much love chatting away to you, because you can bring in stuff like Lord of the Rings, and everything just starts to make sense then.
So I only appeal to a small group of people, mate.
So just talk us through life in lockdown. Like as a coach, what have been the main components to maintaining and building strength, or continuing to improve your fitness whilst gyms are, for whatever reason, closed during a national health crisis?
I mean, so the first lockdown was great because it was really sunny. Everyone thought they were doing what they needed to do to help out. So we basically filled the car up, brought everything home, and personally for myself, if that's what you're asking, I just trained a couple of times a day. Had loads of family time, and it was really, really good. It was really good for our family. We had a little new baby at the time. Thea was just over a year old when we went into the first lockdown, and then she spent loads of time with her brother as well, which was really nice. So it's always been easy. Like, with training in my life, is like, it's non-negotiable. It's a thing that happens anyway. I'm very disciplined with it. It's like an appointment in my diary. It gets done every day. So training's will always get done for me. It has been a challenge to coach other people though, as they were without the kit, the environment, the people in the gym with them every day. So that's been a struggle, but people have still managed to make improvements. It just all depends on the individual, I think, really.
I was going to say, are you tired of planning bodyweight workouts yet?
There's always a way, mate. I'm never tired of it, because I know why I'm doing whatever I'm doing. So whatever I'm writing out, it's to help someone get somewhere. So it's just that these are the tools we've got at the minute to do the job. So even though it's not ideal, and I'd rather everybody have 150 kilograms of weight in a pull-up bar and whatnot, we just have to do the most we can, because this is the situation we're in, unfortunately.
I was going to say, so as obviously you are head coach of CrossFit 3D in Manchester, what kind of things have you been doing to obviously keep members busy, keep them happy, keep them fit, keep them active? Because I think one of the biggest challenges at the moment is how gyms are struggling and will continue to struggle whilst we're in a lockdown situation.
You mean financially, like as in members leaving and that sort of stuff, or? Yeah,
all of it. I think there's a lot to it, isn't there?
Yeah, I think we've talked about this before, mate. But CrossFit gyms and gyms that really care about the members are gonna survive these types of situations because they have a relationship with the members. And I think that's one thing that saved us and kept all of our memberships live, is that we are communicating with people, we're doing daily programming, we're putting mobility work out, we're checking in with members, we're doing nutrition challenges and check-ins and like, we've built a community around that side of things as well. And I think that's it really, like just being people and having that human connection with people is what's really important in this sort of time when everybody is very isolated.
And obviously that's a huge part of CrossFit, isn't it? Being able to get together in that group environment and be around other people. And at the minute, that's exactly the opposite of what we're being told to do.
Well, yeah. And the month or whatever it was we were open for, like, everybody high-fived, everybody was around each other, and it's so everybody realizes how important it is, basically, and that hopefully when we get out of this situation, the gym will still be there for them, and they know that if they fail to support us, or they can't, or they choose not to support us as a gym anymore, that we might not be there when businesses begin to open again, which would be a big shame.
That would be a crying shame, especially in comparison to some of the other gyms that are around. What was it that drew you to CrossFit in the first place? So obviously, like, how long have you been doing it for now?
So I started CrossFit, I think it was September 2013. And so I used to fight, I used to do MMA, and I had an old injury from football. So I had a hematoma on my thigh from football, a double hematoma, needed it like slicing open to relieve the blood flow and save my life and my leg and all that sort of stuff. So I had a bit of drama with that. Got it patched up, healed up, carried on playing football. Then I started MMA, and I had no problems with it at all. Had a couple of fights. After I finished my second fight, won my second fight, I took a knock on it in training, just like a nothing sort of thing that you wouldn't even think of. And it just went big again. It swollen up again. The hematoma, like, sort of feeling came back. I didn't need surgery for that one. I had a few weeks off, and I was like, well, if I carry on fighting, carry on taking kicks to the leg, it's going to happen again, and could possibly like endanger my life or amputate a leg. So that was that. Went back to the Globo gym, squat, bench, deadlift, all that sort of stuff. And one of my best mate, Phil, who I've known since about 2, he was doing something called CrossFit. And he told me a little bit about it, and he said, I think you'll really like this, which was great at the time, because I think it was like it was definitely a big pick me up. And I needed it at that point in time. So I went along to the free trial class at CrossFit Warrington, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it. All I did was a load of sit-ups, burpees and lunges. Couldn't walk for the next 3 days. And then that was it. I was in.
Hooked.
It was like, I felt like I was in a fight, or I felt like I was sparring, like physiologically, but I wasn't getting choked out at the same time or punched in the face. So it had a lot of benefits of MMA fitness-wise. It felt like it, but yeah, no one was trying to change my nose.
Yeah, the threat to life was a little bit less immediate.
Yeah,
a little bit less apparent.
Unless you've done Kalsu, then the threat to life is very great there.
So is that something that you actually actively seek out and enjoy about CrossFit and training, and even the competition side of it as well, going into that dark place and fighting?
I wouldn't say that I actively seek it, because I know that to improve fitness, whether you want to be a competitor or you just want to be a general CrossFitter and train for life, you do not need to smash yourself all the time. However, I do like that feeling, and I do like putting myself in that sort of shit state, so to put it. I don't shy away from that. Like, I do really enjoy that sort of feeling.
So when it, like, obviously, I mean, we both know that you don't need to smash yourself all the time. You do need to make sure you recover in between your workouts.
Yeah.
But on the occasional basis, it is important to go into that kind of like that pain zone. What would you say to someone, or say to your clients, in terms of if they don't like that, if that's something that they don't, how would you kind of coach them and caress them into being able to exit their comfort zone and go into this new realm where, you know, they are exposed to a very different stimulus?
They need to earn it. So, and what I mean by that is they need to be fit enough to push to that top end of things. So they need to move well enough, with enough technique safely, in order to work that hard. So, for example, if we're running, or if we're, what could I say? Someone needs to be strong and powerful enough to do it. So say, for example, we had 40 kilogram thrusters, but someone's max thruster is 50. They're not going to be able to do many thrusters at 40 to hurt themselves, are they? That's just one example, but basically they need to earn it. And also the main thing I'd say is develop the confidence to be able to do that. So once you've been doing CrossFit for a while, and once you know more about yourself, once you know, right, I can do 50 pull-ups unbroken, I can do 40 thrusters at this weight unbroken, then you know what a bit more of what you're capable of, and you can start to push. And if you know you're in a workout situation that's got this many reps for this long, then you know that you're capable of doing it, and you can work as hard as you want to get it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so in a way, it's spend time practicing the movements, get to know the workouts, get to know kind of where your capabilities are. And then once you've got an idea of that, that's when you can then stretch it a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah, and then it gets more complex as you go along. Like, okay, I've got 50 chest to bar pull-ups, but when a power snatches become involved in the workout, that changes because of my grip, or my heart rate will go up because of this, or do you know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
I know
do.
you know what I mean. I've seen
It's
it.
like, so it's, if you're looking to run a marathon, but you've never run a 5K, well, the first thing you need to do is learn how to cover 1 mile, and then you've got to make that 1 mile and bulk it together with 26
Yeah.
consecutively.
And
But
everything
then what
else
you're
that
actually
comes with that. Like, you don't even think about like, conditioning your feet. Like, are your feet ready for that amount of time running? You know, there's a lot that goes into it. I know that my wife Laura did. She did Dublin Marathon a few years ago, and she lost 5 toenails.
Oh,
So it's like there's things you don't really think about, because you've not earned it. You've not earned the right. You've not trained for it. Someone can tell you what it should be like and what it should feel like, but unless you've put the reps in, you've not earned the right to go that hard. And I think that people who do, I've seen it in our gym, members who do just repeatedly, like if they're on the back 4 times a week, looking up at the ceiling, dying, they never get that fit. They just burn out.
so am I doing it wrong?
If that's the case, yeah.
I frequently
Because
find
you
myself
should be walking away from a lot of workouts, because you're only building that one energy system where you hurt yourself, put yourself in the ground.
No, I think in my defense, a lot of the time when I do that, I'm okay, and I could, like, if you asked me to get up and do another round, I might not be very happy about it, but I'd be able to do it. I'm not completely devastated at that point in time.
Just a bit of weakness on the floor.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, no weakness, but more. I would say not weakness, but more enjoyment that it's over, more enjoyment that it's done, satisfaction in the work that has occurred. So essentially, earn the right to go hard.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, like build the confidence to go hard.
I mean, like I tend to describe exercise as being a stress, and stress is a poison in the system. Too much of it or overexposure to it is going to kill you, but the right amount, your immunity increases. So training sessions are like a little bit like a vaccination in a way, shall we say?
A real one, a trialed and tested one.
So yeah, and I think when it comes to CrossFit 3D, obviously as the head coach, you must have a set of principles that you decide, right, well, this is how we're going to program, this is how we're going to coach, this is how we're going to train people. Obviously, passed on through the CrossFit mantra and methodology. What are the main things that you push forward to members and recommend for everybody?
As in my coaching staff and so on?
Yes.
As far as programming goes, we follow CrossFit's methodology. And that's that. It's proven, it's tested, it works. It gets people fit. It gets people looking good naked if they follow everything else that CrossFit speaks about as well, in terms of diet, sleep, and recovery. As far as coaching goes, and with members, number one, we keep people safe. That is priority. And that can be like from a biomechanical point of view. Are they in the right position? Are they safe? Are they using the right loading? Are they using the right gymnastic scale? Are they doing too many reps? Are they doing the right amount of reps? Are they working out for the right amount of time? So if we've got new people in, for example, we can make a 5-round workout 3. Next one is technique and movement. This sort of ties in with safety, but that is paramount. We don't want to get good at doing things badly. So making sure that people are moving well as they can possibly do for their body type and their anthropology, if you want to put it that way, is really, really important. Thirdly, with coaches, I need them to be relentless. Like if they see something, they need to fix it as well as they can for that person. So if I know that someone can squat with the foot fully on the ground and they're in the toes, I want to see it corrected. If we know that we've got an issue with that person and they've got really tight ankles and that's the best we're getting out of them, then of course that's fine. We know our members. And when we push them as far as we know we can without taking the enjoyment of the workout away as well, which I think is really important. But yeah, relentlessness, get everything out of people. They're my main ones, really. And I think this has come a lot later, I think, because I was so focused on people being safe and moving well and getting the stimulus of the workout right, that sometimes I'd forget that it's still supposed to be fun. And I've been guilty of that in the past. And it's just, for me, it's just been finding the right blend of seriousness and getting everything bang on, but also it being fun and a laugh and building community and relationships with people without making them think like I'm some sort of Führer who demands perfection.
Because I know that, I've heard you speak quite a few times before, like when you do the video or the little Facebook live sessions with Madders and things like that. It's about getting people fit for life and simply being able to handle life. That's kind of like the first and foremost reason as to why you do what you do, isn't it?
Yeah, and we know, and by that we mean a couple of things. We mean they can come in and train. They can come in and do a class. They know what scales we're going to use. They're up for using new scales and different movements. They're going to leave better than they walked in. And then there's a different side of it as well. Mentally, they're a bit happier. They feel more relaxed. They're less stressed. They know that the gym is a positive place for them. And then on another level, which is really fucking important at the minute, they're improving their physical condition. They're lowering the body fat. They're increasing the muscle mass. And they're becoming aerobically fitter so that their health markers improve. That is absolutely key at the minute. And I see that, the 180 members at CrossFit 3D are fantastic. Most of them are what we'd call healthy. Most of them are towards fitness. There's a few that that are still working really hard, who've not been with us for that long, or the lifestyle needs a drastic change that they've begun to make over time. But we're getting everyone towards fitness. That is the goal. That is the aim. It's not about the sexy workouts. It's not about the cool movements. It's not about power snatching and pistols. It's about how do we get these people living healthier, longer, happier lives.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and looking good naked, because that's just more important than anything else.
Crucial. That's what people care about right now, isn't it?
It's gotta be.
And I remember reading about this in a book like Exercise by Daniel Lieberman, where he's talking like the average age of death for people who are fit and healthy compared to people who aren't fit and healthy is very, very similar. I think there's about 3 years difference. So there's not a lot in it, but what he does emphasize and what he does talk about is the rate of decline. So a fit and healthy person will essentially fall off a cliff at some point in time. When their moment comes, when their time is up, they're off a cliff. And it's very quick, very rapid, very sudden, probably a bit of a shock to a lot of people. And then we've got what seems to be the accepted norm at the moment, where people are walking around living very unhealthy lives full of disease, weakness, multiple medical issues. And the decline is far, far slower, but the actual difference in quantity of life is very, very similar. But that quality is...
That's interesting.
Enormous.
Yeah, and you really want to be strong enough and fit enough to have a good quality of life all the way up until the end of it. You don't want to spend the last 20 years having someone wipe your ass and carrying your shopping in for you and not being able to do the things you love. Like that's the most terrifying bit for me. Like
that's going on my list of quotes, that you don't want to spend the last 20 years
not being able to wipe your ass. It's true though, isn't it? And it's like, it's life, not being alive. It's life. Quality of life. You don't want to live 20% of it in complete shit state where you can't do anything. You know what I mean? I want to be CrossFitting until I literally kiff it.
And like just on that note, then, like, what is kind of your aim as in CrossFit, like as a coach, as a competitor? Because you do perform to a high level as well as just coaching, don't you?
Well, I mean, yeah, I do train. I do love training hard. Yeah,
You train now and again, don't you? I've
every
seen
now
you
and then.
once or twice.
Once, twice a week. Yeah, I do love training. I do have goals for the competitive side of it. Obviously, last year's been a complete nightmare. I did qualify for one comp last year, which got kiboshed. And then other than that, it's the Open. The Open's coming up. But yeah, goals wise, my next realistic goal is to try to qualify as a master in the 35 to 39 category. Just see how I get on with that. That's my goal.
So when it comes to your principles of training, like the things that you need to do every day to be an elite coach and elite competitor, what are the main things that are non-negotiable? You've already talked about training. Training gets done, it's in your diary no matter
Yeah.
what else is critical for, well, two parts to this, for yourself, but what you would also advise for general population as well?
With training, I feel like there should be a level of very similar to coaching. There should be a level of focus. Keep it fun. If you're not enjoying it, you shouldn't be doing it. Obviously, like we've said, some situations aren't enjoyable, like when you're dying. You know, if you're rowing intervals or whatever it is, obviously that's very, very difficult and it hurts. And every voice inside your head's telling you to stop, and you push through it anyway. But it should still be fun. You should still want to do it. You should still want the benefits of it. But it should be treated with a level of focus and attention and care. And like that is, if you want to get the most out of it, that should be all that matters for those 90 minutes, 2 hours, whatever it is. So the attention that you put into each warm-up rep and each rep in the workout should be the same.
So that's with regards to, what about other lifestyle habits like nutrition, sleep? How do you stay on top of all those things?
Sleeping's the same. We're early risers, so early bedtime. We always make sure that we get 8 hours of kip. Obviously difficult with the little one sometimes, but we do our absolute best to get 8.5, 9 hours in bed.
So what you're saying is, as a parent, it is still possible to get a proper sleep.
It is until it isn't. So but we can only control so much. So if we stay up till 11 o'clock watching Netflix, then we've fucked it. We're not controlling what we control. But if we make sure we're in bed for 9, we can control that. The alarm goes off at, whatever time, 5, 5:30. The baby wakes up in the night, it's tough shit. We deal with that. But we control what we can. So it's definitely possible to plan and try and make that happen. And then if your baby wakes up, it is what it is.
So for parents, go to bed.
Yeah, if you're tossing it off and you sat there still with a tinny watching Line of Duty till 10:30, then that's on you, isn't it?
Absolutely. You mentioned kind of like when you're doing rowing intervals and when you feel like you're dying and you just push through and you carry on. How?
Habit.
And how?
Habit.
Go on. How do you develop that, or where does your mind?
I've been thinking about this since our chat last week. So last week on my podcast, Alex talked about patterns and how you'll have like triggers to do certain things. So if your boss pisses you off at work, you grab a dairy milk on the way home from the garage, because that's what happens when you do that. When that thing happens, you get a dairy milk. And it's this, I feel like it's the same thing with training habits, but in a positive way. So if you know that, for me, I have certain things that happen whenever I stop one movement. There's like a process that happens before I pick up the next movement. And it's a habit and a confidence thing. So I know that as soon as I've finished wall balls, it's 3, 2, 1 to pick up the deadlifts, and that's just an example. But it is literally a habit that it manifests itself also almost as an ego thing. Like, because I've been training for so long and I've got such a sort of like library of where I should be for certain movements, what weights and what pacing I should be at for certain movements. It's almost like, well, you can't go lower than that because you can do that. So if I'm rowing and it's like, right, you're rowing at a 140 pace, I know that that's there and I have to row at that pace in this situation.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? Or I'm doing at least sets of 8 of that. I'm doing at least sets of 10 handstand push-ups. I'm doing at least sets of 7 muscle-ups, and so on.
See, for me, that makes perfect sense. Like, I've just written down, I would refer to that as just being physical intelligence.
Yeah.
Again, you mentioned before, like, you have to earn the right to go hard. You know, kind of your paces, your boundaries, where you're at physically. And, once you do it enough, like, you do build up that library of, this is what I can do. This is my capabilities. And you just reset your boundaries, don't you?
Yeah.
So in your head during a workout, I want to get in there. I want to crack it open now. In a workout, when you're in that pain zone, what's that self-talk? What are you telling yourself?
It depends what sort of situation it is. What type of give let's flesh it out, mate.
Right, let's say DT. Go through that one.
So DT is 5 rounds of 12 deadlifts, 9 hang power cleans, 6 push jerk at 70 kilograms.
Because I do know quite a few people where that is their favorite workout. So
is it?
Yeah. So
it's horrible. It's a good one. Yeah. So with that one, for me, for example, I know it's 11 deadlifts with a mixed grip, pick it up, do the 9 hang power cleans, and then keep hold of it for the push jerk every time, every round.
So do you say that? Just keep hold of it?
I know it. I know it's happening. I know I'm going to do it, like, because I've done it so many times and know that is going to happen.
Yep.
And that's what I have to do every time. And then if there's a contingency plan wise, if my grips die in, it's obviously put the hang power cleans down on 8, then pick it up for 1 hang power clean to finish the push jerks.
Yep. Now, how does that differ, or does that differ massively from an environment where you were on a football pitch competing and playing, and obviously there are other people around you interacting with what you're doing and that can interfere in your movements and your actions on the game, not even to mention what's going on in a cage when you're trying to knock the other guy flat out?
Yeah.
What's your self-talk like in those scenarios where you are competing directly against other people that can immediately influence what you're doing?
Well, in a CrossFit setting, that could be that someone's going faster than you.
Yeah.
So, are you fit enough to go faster? If you've earned the right to go faster, you can. If not, then you will blow up and fail. You will burn out. With football, I used to play centre-back for a good couple of years. It's different, isn't it? You're marking the players. You're looking at the flow of the game. What are your players doing? What are your defenders doing in line with you? What's your centre mid doing? There's so much more to take in with team sports. You have to be, the skill is communication, isn't it? And being aware of, I know you coach as well, like, it's being aware of everything else that's happening around you whilst making sure you're doing the right thing, and then reacting and hoping at the time you can jump high enough for the header. Your timing's good. The tackle of the timing's good. You're in communication with your keeper. You know better than I do, mate, with that one. And as far as cage fighting goes, I think, and from watching lots of UFC after fighting as well, I only had 2 fights. I did train for 4 or 5 years, but you are the sum of your training at that point. And it's more of like, I didn't fight enough times for it to become like flowing and second nature, if that makes sense. Do you know where it's like a skill that you can breathe through easily because you've done it so many times?
Yeah, and it's just instinctive.
Yeah, I mean, it was instinctive, but like it's one of those things where you like, you know, afterwards you don't really remember as well.
Yeah.
But the first fight I had, it was probably a bit more. I was a bit more aware in that one because it was a long fight. It went nearly all 3 rounds, and the guy I was fighting was just really tough, and I was just hitting him with everything I had, and he just wasn't going down. He was some really tough Polish dude called Lucas Kradecki, and I was just hitting him with everything I had. Tried submitting him a few times. He was really good at jiu-jitsu, so he got his way out of it. And then in the last round, I smashed him with a body kick, and then he crumbled. So it was just like, that was like, I was a bit more aware because there wasn't as much danger. So he was throwing punches and he was hitting hard, but there wasn't as much danger. So I could like take a breath and pick my shots, if that makes sense. And then the second fight was over in 90 seconds. The guy come at me throwing windmills, picked him up, slammed him on the floor, kneed him a few times and choked him out. So that was a bit more like crash, bang, wallop, like really quick. And as soon as I got on the ground, which is what I really like to do, it was just like, I was just in autopilot mode. So I was like putting pressure on his neck, putting my knee on his belly, kneeing him in the chest, throwing punches. And then as soon as the submission felt like it was just like natural, like a key sliding into a lock, it was just like, boom, that's it. That's what I need to do. So that one was a bit more instinctive, where the first one was like, right, go now, go now. But yeah, it's really different than doing fucking thrusters and pull-ups, mate. It's really different.
I'm going to say it's not like someone's coming up to you trying to nick the bar off you or kicking you in the face trying to take it from you, is it?
Yeah. Mate, I keep hearing stupid shit like that. Someone asked Castro, should we put wrestling or something in CrossFit? I'm like, that's the fucking dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, you got someone like, no disrespect to anyone who's a bit smaller, but if you got someone huge, like like Rasmus Anderson's like over 100 kilograms, and he's got to fight Cody Anderson, who's 76. It's like, right, well, he's getting smashed, isn't he?
Yeah.
But that's dumb. I think that's dumb. Yeah. But yeah, no one's fighting you in CrossFit. It's who moves the best and who's the fittest. That's it.
Yeah. Well, that's what it's a test of, isn't it, in the first place? So
yeah,
already fulfills its requirement. I know we haven't got too long left, but and this next question could probably be an entire 1, 2, 3 hour epic on its own. Right. But in the current situation that we're in, and me and you are probably in the privileged position where we're both we're physically fit, physically capable, mentally somewhat switched on. How do we go about solving or helping to solve the problem of health and fitness with our nation?
I think there's a big hurdle, and I think it comes from, the main thing is a lack of awareness. I've been thinking about this a lot lately, but I feel like the nation is really, really unaware of how critical it is to be healthy. And by that, I mean body fat at a certain percentage, a certain level of strength and mobility and function. That's all I mean. And it's just simply that. I think that people are really unaware, and they give themselves lots of excuses and a get out for a lot of situations in their life. They just accept that, like, oh, I'm the chubby guy. Oh, I'm the big woman, or whatever it is. Like, they just let themselves off with it. And I think it's trying to do that in a really, say that and make people aware of that in a really compassionate way. And, you know, you and I probably got into this to help people, whether in any walks of life, whether it's to power clean 150, deadlift 200 kilos, or lose 20 stone, whatever it is, we got in this to help people. And that's all we want to do. And it can seem like people can really point the finger at us and be like, oh, you're just vain. You just think everyone should be this. But no, like, we want people to live longer, happier lives. So the first step, I think, is making people aware of the situation that they're in and how vital it is that they understand it and decide themselves to make a change, decide that it's important enough for themselves to make a real change. Because everybody, I think that we've lost this, but everybody doesn't value themselves as a person anymore. And they don't realize that being overweight being unhealthy does have a massive effect on the country, because the more people that are filling beds up in hospital for things that can be easily avoided by doing a bit of exercise is going to have a massive drain on the government. You know, I think the number is, I think it's 27 billion pounds is spent a year on people who are ill from obesity in the NHS. Doesn't even mention anything about private people either, people who go private. But you know, it costs a lot of money, and I know that people's quality of life is low. I know it. It has to be. It absolutely has to be. And you know, we've got a huge portion of the country who are overweight, and I don't think that everybody needs 12% body fat, but I do think that everybody needs to be more health conscious and decide themselves to make the change. I think that's the barrier, mate. Make awareness, and then making it valued enough so that people want to do it and people believe that they're worth it. Because people are like, oh, I'm too busy for my health. I'm too busy. I've got too much work to do. I've got too much stuff on to make health a choice and go to the gym or go for a run or whatever it is. When really, like, this is number one. This is the first thing you should be thinking about. It's like, if your car's in shit state, it needs new tires and all that sort of stuff, and you're thinking about doing a 500-mile journey in it, you need to get the condition sorted first. You need to get your car sorted first. You need your tires right. You need oil. You need this. You need that. You need that right before you can make a big journey. I know that's a shit analogy, but like,
well, I disagree. I think that's a perfect analogy. It goes back to your whole principle of being fit for life, be fit for your journey.
Yeah, it's like, you can be a better dad, you can be a better mum, a better wife, a better husband. You can be a better person for everybody in your life. You'll have more self-esteem, more confidence. You'll be able to see your dick better if you're overweight. Like, all these benefits, and all it requires is a couple of hours of your attention, getting to bed a little bit earlier, saying no to 17 custard slices a week, have 12 instead. Little things that will constantly like lead towards a better you, and you'll be around for longer, and you won't be a burden on the government and the NHS and whatever else you want to call it, however else you want to look at it.
See, I think, and I don't know how much this will kind of resonate with you, but I remember when I had my injury, the biggest thing I felt like I had to combat was my reliance on other people and my dependency on other. Like, I was essentially, figuratively speaking, not literally speaking, I was still capable of doing this, but I was pretty much outsourcing and wiping my own ass. Like, I couldn't cook, I couldn't walk around, I couldn't, necessarily go shopping, I couldn't drive anywhere. I was completely laid up for a full 6 weeks, and a lot of people are probably actually living a life like that to a degree.
Yeah, and I mean, you see people in the shops who've got these what we call mobility scooters, and the reason, and there's obviously there's some people who have got things going on, but a lot of the time there's overweight. They've eaten themselves into that state. That's incredibly sad, really, really sad. And I think there's so much that goes into this. Like, I don't even think the government even wants to look at this for a second, because it's such a task. But people are eating themselves into this condition. And I've come up with a few reasons why some people do it, but it's obviously so individual that it's hard to pinpoint, and there's no one answer.
Well, I was going to say, just going back to, we're going to start our own political party and run the health and fitness industry for the nation. Yeah. We'll get that moving. Let us know if you'd support that. One of the things I said with my brother in one of our earlier episodes was, when it comes to goal setting or creating that level of self-awareness, one of the things that we actually talk to people about, and the way I visualize this is, what we need you to do is essentially shit your pants and then have a sit down and think about what you've just done and kind of wallow in that situation and become aware of yourself. And if you can do that, you've got the potential to then move forwards. And you mentioned self-awareness as being one of the big things that we need to change and we need to get right. We need to have more of it. But there seems to be, and I don't know how much you've been exposed to this, but there seems to be like a bit of an anti-health movement where, you know, as soon as you start saying to someone like, oh, you need to be fit, you need to be healthy, you need to get in the gym, eat this, eat that, that's a negative. Somehow
Yeah.
people manage to turn that into a negative.
Well, there's probably a couple of reasons for that. Like, you know, we shouldn't really be telling anyone how to live their lives. We should suggest how they could live a better one. But it gets very touchy when you tell people how to live their lives. Obviously, that's been we've all been told how to live our lives this year, and some have complied and some haven't. I think that it's met with a lot of resistance because they know it already. They know what's going on deep down, subconsciously. They know when they're having the fourth tin of beer, the next piece of cake, the second serving. They know every time deep down that there's a contribution to that body that they don't want, and it's taken away from their health. So I think that it's met with like, you're the messenger. You're the term, don't shoot the messenger. You are the messenger, and you've basically called them out on what they already know and what they already fucking hate about themselves to a level. Hate's a strong word, but a lot of people do. They've got no self-esteem. They're overweight, and they're like, I fucking hate that about myself. And I hate even more that I'm not willing to say it out loud to myself or do anything about it.
Well, I think, like you've said, the whole aspect of valuing yourself is fundamental to all of it, isn't it? Like if you're not fit, you're not healthy, or you're not taking time out to look after yourself, you're essentially telling yourself that you're not worth looking after, aren't you?
Yeah. And that couldn't be further from the truth. You are like we said, you know, if your tires are hanging off and you've got no fuel in the tank and you've got no oil, like, you're not going to be good for any journey. And you need to look after yourself first if you want to be the best version of yourself. And you are worth it. I know it sounds cheesy as fuck, but you are literally all you've got. Your body is it's what you're stuck with all your life. So you might as well make it as best as it can possibly be. Yes, you may have a genetic sort of thing going on, you know. Yeah, you might have a twisted pelvis, you might have scoliosis, you might have been born with diabetes, whatever it is. That's no excuse to not make yourself the best you can be. The best you can be, not Matt Fraser, because no one's beating that fucker. Just the best version of yourself.
I think that's what everyone needs to put a focus on, isn't it? Just be the best version of yourself.
I'd love for that, mate. I'd love for it to be. I'd love for it to be pushed. I'd love for it to be like a thing. Instead of like 50% off KFC and McDonald's during this lockdown, it'd be amazing to see our government officials make that a thing. Instead of wearing masks and socially distancing to improve our health, and masks do fuck all. It's in censored studies. It should be promoted that we should be healthy, we should be outdoors exercising, we should be doing press-ups, we should be doing squats, we should be getting out of breath once, you know, at 3-4 times a week. We should be eating healthier foods, whole foods, and sleeping more. Instead of like promoting fast food, eat out to help out. Obviously, we want to help businesses, but eating out usually ends in eating a surplus of calories, which is eventually going to put on weight. And if it's cheaper and more accessible than ever, you just have to drive around a roundabout to get it and queue up for half an hour. Everyone's going to do it because it's easy. And it just puts us in more shit state. Like, obesity's up, depression's up, suicides are up. And that's obviously got a lot to do with the lockdown, but it's also in this situation we're in where we no access to gyms, limited access to equipment. No one knows what the fuck they're doing as well if they don't belong to a CrossFit gym or they're not being looked after by a gym. They don't know what to do. Joe Wicks, like, I think that's as much as, you know, it could be better. I think the fact that he's on the telly training and getting people doing a bit of fits is fantastic, and we need much more of that sort of stuff.
Yeah. More of that sort of stuff and less of the shitty dieting programs like How to Lose Weight Well, for example.
Less of people trying to make money off of people's insecurities and lack of knowledge.
Yeah. 100% agree with that. I think that's a wonderful note to end on. But before I do let you go, you do also run your own podcast. If you want to give that a little plug for us right now, we'll put links to your show.
Oh, thank you for that, mate. I really appreciate that. Yeah, it's Points of Performance podcast. It's primarily a CrossFit coaches podcast, where I speak to other CrossFit coaches about coaching, CrossFit, programming, nutrition, health, and then bits of other stuff as well. Really, a bit like your podcast. We can talk about whatever we want to talk about. So it's quite free, really. But yeah, that's something I started I think I started it in the first lockdown, just to sort of get my thoughts out there and become better at speaking myself. Really, just get a bit more confident talking. And speak to new people, more people. Is just a little project for myself to work on.
Yeah, and it is a great podcast, well worth a listen. I've listened to quite a few of your episodes as well.
Thank you, mate.
Keep up the good work on that. And the way I would label probably both of our podcasts, like before anyone decides to jump on a bandwagon and start slagging us, is we are not anti-fat. We're not anti-fat by any means. We are simply pro-health and pro-fitness.
Mate. I'm really glad you said that. Like, I'm not anti. I've even said during this lockdown, I'm not even anti-meth. Everyone should be able to do what they want to do. You should just be able to do it in moderation and not hurt anyone doing it. So, like, I'm not anti-fat. There's a serious lack of education in this country for health and fitness. We've done some real digging. We've spent thousands of pounds on courses, thousands of hours learning. We've done so much digging for information to help our clients and people and family. You don't just fall on that accidentally. You don't just fall by that accidentally. You don't just find it. You know what I mean? You don't just, I just accidentally did a 100-hour course on energy systems and movement. It doesn't happen. And the general public, the general pop just don't know. So, if they've just watched their mum and dad eat a certain way and they've got so much money and they think that they can only do so much, I'm not against anyone. I don't blame anyone for anything that they've done in the past. But if they're open to change and they want to change and they're aware or they need help, I'm here for them.
Yeah.
I'm here for anyone who wants, if you've got 100 stone to lose or you want to put on 10 stone of muscle, I'm here to help you.
Yeah, that's it. Like me and you as coaches, we simply want people to live their best possible life, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. And then, like, overall, we see the big problem in the country where if we had, if we had that percentage cut down of obese people, like, the country would be in such a better state. Like we said last time, you've got 40% more chance of dying from COVID, the flu, if you're obese. But that goes for anything.
Yeah.
You've got much more likely to really hurt yourself if you fall over when you're overweight. You've got a much more likely chance of dying from cancer or heart disease or anything else, any of the other big ones that you want to look at.
Yeah. So if you want to live a long, healthy, physically competent life, be strong, be aerobically fit, be of relatively sound, good body composition, look after yourself, treat yourself well, and just enjoy it.
And I think, like, a lot of people will think, they'll listen to you and be like, I absolutely agree with everything you've said, Alex. However, I'm 8 stone off that. That's fine. It doesn't mean that you should just fuck it off because it's going to take you ages. You should just start the journey. Just start.
Yeah.
And if you lose a pound a month or whatever it is, just crack on, because what else are you going to do? Are you going to just exist in this body that you hate and you hate yourself for? And, you're just going to feel like shit. So it's just like, let's just make a start. Let's just accept where we are, accept who we are, love who you are at the minute, and get confidence from the fact that you're going to make a positive change to your life. I mean, I wish, I know that some trainers have done this in the past, but I wish I was really overweight because I'd just crack on and get it done. I know that sounds absolutely mental, but I just love any sort of example I could make where people can see that it's possible. And it's just such a shame that so many people don't believe it. They don't believe in themselves, or they're like, "Oh, I could never do that. Oh, I just need to lose a few more stone, and then I can get a gastric band put in or whatever." Such a shame, mate.
Yeah. I think that is a very inspiring note. I know you've got to shoot off now, but a very, very inspiring note for us to end it on right there. So thank you for your time. Thanks for coming on, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Oh, the pleasure's all mine, mate. We'll do it again. Do it again very soon.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to do it again soon. But thanks for coming on, Tom. It's been awesome speaking to you.
Thank you, mate.
Right then, so there we have it. That brings to an end my somewhat briefer conversation with Tom in comparison to some of the previous guests that we've had on. But Tom will definitely have to come back on this podcast because we still have loads to talk about. Absolutely tons of stuff. Like I say, he's an inspirational guy that wants the very best for everybody. So, if we can start to actually change the landscape of health, fitness, what is required to be a competent, capable individual, then we need to start making those changes. We need to push those things forward. So massive thanks to Tom for coming on, and massive thanks again to you for listening. I will put a link to Tom's Points of Performance podcast, which I would recommend. If you enjoy this show, you'll definitely enjoy Tom's as well. So go over and give him a listen. Make sure you subscribe to his podcast. And again, keep your eyes peeled for the next episode, which will follow this one pretty quickly. We're going to be talking about principles, and Chris will be asking me a few questions on that. And a little bit similar to what I did with Tom today, where we kind of dug into what drives him and what he uses as kind of his fundamentals for improving the lives of other people. So keep your eyes and ears peeled for that one. And again, if you enjoy the show, please leave us a review, give us a 5-star rating, and some nice words wouldn't go amiss. If you have any other questions for us, again, get in touch, drop us a message. Find us out on social media, find us on Facebook and Instagram and the likes of that. And ask us some questions. We will happily address them on this podcast. So until next time, that is it from me. Lenko out.